So today, Ghalibaf, the Speaker of the Parliament, is trolling the U.S. by saying that they very much know that the futures market is being manipulated and the futures pricing is all on paper, but it's not going to translate into anything in the gas pumps. So there is that. However, more seriously, Bloomberg is reporting that the futures for oil and stocks worth billions of dollars change hands just 15 minutes before Trump's social media post on Monday morning at 7 o'clock. And that sent crude prices tumbling and stock prices soaring. And somebody made billions of dollars. So this is very much focused on grift, corruption, money making, manipulation of the markets. It is utterly, utterly stunning how much of what is going on is related to the manipulation of the markets. And it seems that Iran is actually trolling about that. The irony of ironies, in case we forget, Iran, without asking for sanctions relief, got $14 billion worth of sanctions relief. So it seems that Reliance Industries in India has bought Iranian oil, and the oil is moving to India as we speak. So yes, $14 billion worth of Iranian oil is being sold, benefiting Iran. Going forward, it would be very hard to imagine that Iran is going to so easily show up at the negotiating table. Even Iran analysts such as Ali Vaez are saying he doesn't see how this is happening, that Iran is going to want very serious compromise from the US in order to show up at the negotiating table. That they're going to now demand full sanctions relief, and they're going to demand reining in of Israel and many other things before they show up. Because from Iran's point of view, they see this as a victory, that they have survived, and that, it is America that has approached them for talks to try to find a way out of this. The other thing is that Iran can see that America is deploying thousands of troops to the Middle East, and that they may be in a situation where there is massive escalation and a move to occupy Iran with US ground forces, and that this is all just throwing up dust and creating froth and trying to dupe Iran, and they're not in any mood to be duped. So it is quite possible that if they do negotiate, they may send some low-level person to negotiate. I can't imagine that they would put their senior-most people in harm's way for an assassination campaign or for kidnapping, etc., etc. I just cannot imagine that they would do that. But, let us see how it all pans out. But it just seems that Iran is in no mood to be duped again. And the Monday post seems to have been done to manipulate the oil markets and the futures markets and the equity markets. So once again, it turns out that this is so much about grift that you the whole diplomacy or sense or logic is completely lost. The other thing is that Pakistan would be very, very interested in stopping this war, because I would think that Pakistan does not want to get drawn into actually having to execute on the Saudi-Turkey-Pakistan military pact. It would absolutely not be in Pakistan's interest to get involved in this war on the side of the Saudis. Again, the largest Shia population outside of Iran happens to be in Pakistan. Such a clear sectarian war would light Pakistan on fire. And it is by no means in the interest of the Pakistanis to do that. I think the Pakistanis thought the military pact was to defend Saudi Arabia from Israel. I don't think they really thought that it would come to a point where Saudi Arabia may be dragged into a confrontation with Iran, where the military pact would have to be executed. So I think as long as there are conversations about negotiations and Pakistan is trying to be the intermediary and trying to be the venue for talks, they stay out of the war on behalf of Saudi Arabia. That is the thinking that I'm going to go with for now. And again, just remember, what's coming out of the US media is usually being sourced through Israel. It is very much an Israel says media. And when they say these are anonymous sources, they're usually Israeli sources. So everything should be taken with a grain of salt, and let us see what happens in the next days. But given the amassing of troops, given the amassing of warships, given the kind of encouraging the Gulf countries to get involved in this war, it seems to me that it's not just a pressure campaign on Iran, that actually they're planning something. And Iran also knows that. So it's quite possible that Iran may wait until Friday to give any kind of answer, and they're not going to show up at a table in Islamabad anytime before Trump's so-called deadline. That is my guess on this. And also remember, Israel is still bombing. The US is still bombing. They are still hitting civilian infrastructure in Iran. And so far, they have killed about 3,000 people in Iran, with over 200 children being killed. So let's not forget the actual toll and upon whom this war is. It is upon Iranians.